Hello, welcome to this video on how to write. My name is Vicky Lord, and I'm the author of How to Be Happy Being You and the founder of the Empowered You Project, where we help men and women have the confidence to write and build and empower their dream life. So this video today is about how you can start your writing career. If you've ever had the dream of being an author or the dream of writing a blog or even creating a movie transcript and letting your dreams run wild, this video is for you. And have you ever been curious about where you would go if your soul was expressing itself through writing? There's so much possibility out there for your soul to experience through the written word. And I wanted to encourage you today with three simple tips to start writing a piece of art for yourself. And the first tip that is to write with your imagination. What came to my mind this morning was the movie of Alice in Wonderland. I remember watching that when I was a young child, and it was a girl in a blue and white dress, and she sees a hole, and she looks into the hole and falls into the hole. I thought, how interesting. The person who wrote Alice in Wonderland had the imagination of this young girl in a blue and white dress finding a hole, going down the rabbit hole, and on this adventure of courage and coming out the other side with, finding a whole new part of herself. So the imagination that is within us, it comes at unusual times. When I was younger again, I was in the garden and I saw a tree, and in the tree it had a little hollow. And I saw this hollow and I thought to myself, imagine if fairies were jumping in and out of the hollow and what was going on inside fairyland. And that imagination was sparked at a most unusual time. I was standing there and there comes the imagination. So when you have these little moments in time where the imagination is like, oh, imagine that, often that imagination is a spark or an idea. So pay attention to the imagination that comes your way over time. And my key would be to write down imagine, or I imagine, and then let the pen, you got your pen in your notebook, and you write down, I imagine. And then you write down what you imagine. I imagine a girl in a blue and white dress walking down the hill, finding a hole in the ground, and she goes on an adventure. I imagine a fairy coming in and out of a little hole in a tree. What do you imagine? So write down what you imagine on pen and paper, because pen and paper is really powerful. I found the pen and paper has been my best writing ever. And then I edit it with the computer. So pen and paper, what do you imagine? Tip number two is to believe in your dream, believe in yourself. We're 100% driven by our beliefs. And if you believe that you can be a world best author, or you believe that you can be a screenplay writer, or you believe that you can be a blogger and write masterful pieces of art, you will become that because you're 100% what you believe. You might have to put the steps in place to come and become that person, but it's going to be such fun on the journey. So believe in you. The world is your oyster. And the third tip that I want to leave with you today is when you have your pen and paper and you write down, I imagine, and you're going to let your dreams run wild. I imagine, and then you put the characters into their form, is write for 10 minutes about the archetypes of the characters that you have. When I wrote my first book, How to Be Happy Being You, I had three archetypes in there. I had the mum, which was myself. The mum was married and she had three kids, and the husband was looking after the kids and he was being a great man with the kids so she could go off on her adventure and find herself for a season at a time. And so that was the archetype number one, was the mum going on an adventure. The second archetype was a journalist who was turning into a speaker, and that was the inner me. I wanted to be a speaker. So I had the mum and I had the archetype of the journalist, and then I had the coach Isabella, who was inspired by Bella of Beauty and the Beast. She was beautiful and, wearing yellow and all that. So Isabella would wear these wonderful colors and she'd teach people and guide them through life. And so the mum, the journalist, soon-to-be speaker, and Isabella had this life-changing adventure in this book. It was like the Sisterhood of Traveling Pants, if you've ever watched that movie. And so instead of just being a boring self-help book, I tried to make it like an adventure of a journey and a travel. So what archetypes do you want in your writing? So when you write I imagine, can imagine the archetypes that you have. So Alice in Wonderland, man or woman who wrote that book, I imagine a girl with blonde, soft hair and a blue dress with a white apron, and then she had the parents over here and had this crazy cat that was like freaky. And so all these different archetypes along the way. What archetypes do you imagine? And write that down. So if you take a timer for 10 minutes and start to write about the archetypes that is in your expression that you're going to use. And so, for example, with my fairy book, if I was to write the fairy book, I'd be like, I imagine the fairy with gold and pink dress, and she's glittering in the wind, and the radiant sunshine is bouncing off her hot pink hair, So bringing the archetype to life through imagination. The only way to do this is to write it. If it's all up here, it's going to stay up here. So you got to write it so that it becomes a reality. And so very soon, after you've got your archetypes and you've got your imagination, then you can take it further and you can put a bit more structure to it. So I want to leave that with you today. Let your imagination run wild, 100% believe in yourself, and set your timer for 10 minutes and write about the archetypes that are going to come to life in your writing. If you want to know more about taking your writing further, I do have a free course called the 5-Day Writing Challenge, and it is designed to take you on 5 days where you can totally write a piece of art that will transform your written word in as little as 5 days to be this little masterpiece. I did it myself and I put it on Facebook, and the reviews that I got for my little piece of art was incredible, and it can happen for you too. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll also link this free course below so that you can do that. And here's to your imagination writing. Go and enjoy that, and I'll see you in the next video.